How do you design puzzles that are both interesting and intriguing to solve while also giving the players the opportunity to bypass them completely in case they can't or don't want to solve them? Ah, a tale as old as ulcers and dungeon masters. Hello everyone, this is DM Daniel, and today I'm going to walk you through the process I use when I design puzzles for my players. In one of the campaigns that I'm currently running, I had designed a kind of tutorial session to get the players started. 3 of the 5 players were completely new to D&D, so I thought it would be appropriate. My thoughts were that they had been introduced already to the concept of role-playing, and they had been introduced to combat, so next I wanted to introduce them to puzzles and investigation. And I did that by creating a murder mystery. Right off the bat, things seemed to go wrong. The players didn't really seem interested in figuring out the murder. A couple of nights later, they were arrested and brought to jail because the murderer had successfully framed them. It was one of the outcomes of the murder mystery. I had thought that this would force the players to care about the outcome, and then the captain of the guard could give them one last chance to find the murderer. Instead, the party was just annoyed about this whole situation, and they were very vocal about not wanting to have anything to do with this quest anymore. Because of this, instead of going through with my plan, I decided to simply have them released the next morning. Apparently the guards had found evidence against the true murderer and how he had framed them. I began to explain the murder scheme, the plot and the motive of the killer because I thought at least the party would want to know the truth, but as I explained, one of the party members just burst out, "Yada yada yada, can we please just go kill something now?" And that's when it hit me. I had completely failed to create an interesting puzzle for my players. A good puzzle isn't just there to be solved. A good puzzle draws in the players, it engages them and it makes them want to solve it. I had, as many other DMs before me have, assumed that simply because I had created a puzzle, the players would want to solve it. I had completely forgotten to actually make it engaging for the players and to take into account that not every player wants to solve a murder mystery like Sherlock Holmes would. Not every player wants to sit down and examine clues for 2 hours, not even if they find the mystery intriguing. They might want to solve the murder by finding the city's lowlife and intimidating them into telling them everything they know and then bashing in the killer's door. But I hadn't made room for that kind of style in my puzzle, and that's a problem. A good DM creates different styles of avenues for different styles of players. So, how does one do that? Well, let me tell you about my newest puzzle for one of my upcoming sessions. The players are tasked with finding the secret workshop of an alchemist who lives in this cottage. Surrounding this cottage is a garden, and the cottage and the garden is protected by traps, tripwires, dangerous plants, stone guardians, and other dangerous safeguards. Some players would be very satisfied with simply fighting their way through every danger in the garden, while other players might want to disarm the traps and bypass the dangers. So, let me explain what safeguards there are and how each aspect of them caters to a different playstyle. The door to the cottage is hidden by an illusion. The door looks like a section of the wall, and a section of the wall looks like the door. Trying to open the door will leave the players pushing against a solid wall. The entire cottage and garden is coated in a thin layer of magic, rendering detect magic unusable. Very thorough players, and players who are lucky with the dice, might already be able to find the door at this point, enabling them to simply walk into the cottage. But most players will most likely look for clues elsewhere, at which point I will divert their attention to the center of the garden to an old oak tree in the middle of a rotunda. Again, very thorough and lucky players might be able to find the hidden compartment inside of the tree which hides a crystal. Breaking the crystal will dispel the layer of magic around the garden, allowing the players to use spells like detect magic on the door illusion. If the players simply walk back to the cottage at this point and use detect magic, they'll be able to see the illusion clearly. But most players will most likely want to investigate the area around the tree first. If they do so, no matter if they found the crystal or not, they will find a hidden trapdoor. But opening it will awaken the 2 stone guardians posing as statues. Again, there are rewards for players who want to spend their time looking around and investigating before acting, while the players who simply want to fight their way through the dangers are rewarded for that playstyle as well. After defeating the Guardians, the players can descend into the tunnel below. There, they will find an underground dungeon filled with dangerous plants, traps and dangers. On the other side of the dungeon is a secret entrance into the cottage. But what about the players who want to bypass the dangers entirely? What about the party who wants to prepare and figure things out? Well, for them, I have created a journal written by the alchemist himself that the players can find if they decide to do some preparation before going to the cottage or if they investigate the area well. Inside of this, they will find coded messages explaining the dangers of the garden and how to bypass them. Cracking this code will tell them about the illusion of the door. This code explains that by breaking the crystal before going into the tunnel, they can weaken the Guardians. This one explains that the first wall inside of the tunnel is simply an illusion, and they can bypass the entire dungeon by simply walking through it. But to crack these codes, they will need to find clues scattered all around the dangerous garden, meaning that the players who just want to fight can fight their way through the entire garden and crack the code with all the clues that they find. Or players who want to sit back and crack the code by themselves can do so without ever setting foot inside of the garden. This way, I've created a scenario where players can succeed by investigating, or by reading, or by cracking codes, or by fighting their way through all the dangers, or any combination of any of these, rewarding the players for the playstyle that they choose instead of forcing them down a single path, one way or the other. Creating a puzzle like this will give the players the autonomy to solve it in their own way, and believe me, they will love you for it. Instead of having a puzzle that they don't personally find interesting forced upon them, they will feel like that they are the ones in control and that they are the ones who figure everything out. Is it difficult to do? Oh yes. Is it worth it? Well, only one way to find out. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope it helped inspire you for your next puzzle. If you like what I do, please go take a look at my Etsy store. I make cute and funny D&D themed designs. And you can also take a look at my Patreon, where I upload everything that I do, from dungeons, puzzles, NPCs, towns, campaigns, what have you. Everything there is completely free, and feel free to go take a look at it. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.